Hello, good people. It's springtime here in Alabama, and it's time for the fresh strawberries to be getting ripe. So I've already made a couple of videos using fresh strawberries. I've made strawberry jam and a fresh strawberry pie, and those are on my YouTube channel, South Alabama Cooking, if you want to look at those. But I've pulled out a recipe that I thought about here, a few weeks back, and I want to make that for you today. And I'll be using fresh strawberries in this recipe, and it's called Strawberry Crunch. So let's just get right into this. It's got 3 layers. So we're going to start with the first layer, which will be the crust. So let's turn around here to the counter. Now, what I've got here in my bowl is I have 1 cup of plain flour, and I've got 1 stick of butter. So we want to cut that butter into the flour. And what I have done is I got my butter out of the refrigerator and I've let it set out on the counter here and kind of come to room temperature, soften up. And that way, see, I can cut it into my flour very easily because the butter is soft. So let's just get this all mixed up together here. We have one more ingredient that we want to add to this crust, and that is going to be 1 cup of chopped pecans right here. So as soon as I get this butter cut up in here really good, then we'll mix the pecans in with it. We'll stir that up really good, and that will make our crust. And then we will pour that into right here a 9 by 13 dish, and we're going to put that in the oven. You need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees on bake. Have your rack in the middle, and that way the heat will be able to heat the top. You'll have heat coming down from the top and up from the bottom, your top element and bottom element. That will cook your crust more easily, more evenly. It will cook it more evenly if you have your rack in the middle of your oven. All right, we're near about to get this mixed up here. All right, see that? We've got the butter and the flour mixed up. Now let me add this 1 cup of pecans. We want to stir that in there, and I've chopped the pecans pretty small. It said finely chopped pecans. So I chopped them up pretty small. Let's get these mixed in here. It's been a while since I've made this recipe, but thought I would pull it out and make it again. Okay, see that? We've got that mixed up good. Now, what we want to do, let me get all of this off of the fork. And what we want to do is put this in our casserole dish here. And we're just going to press it down into the bottom of the casserole dish, okay? So I've got a spoon. Let me scrape it out into our casserole dish. All right. Just going to take my fingers and press it into place. Just kind of spread it out some. Press it into place. It's trying to stick to my fingers here. Maybe I better do it with my hand. It seems to work a little better. Okay, here we go. That's what it looks like. All right, now wipe my hands off. We are ready to put this in the oven. And the directions say to bake it for 20 minutes. But I'm going to just cook it until the crust is done. So I think I'll set my timer for 10 minutes. Let me get over here on my kitchen timer. Okay, I'm going to set it for 10 minutes. And we're going to let that start, and I'll check it after 10 minutes. Now, while that is cooking, we're going to work on the second and third layers. Okay, so let's get back around here to the counter. And we're going to start on this second layer. And let me look at here and see what my second layer will consist of. Okay, I've got to have 8 ounces, an 8-ounce package of cream cheese. I've already got that in here. There it is. I've got to have 1 cup of powdered sugar. There's that. And then I've got to have an 8-ounce container of Cool Whip. So let me go get my Cool Whip out of the refrigerator. All right, here's my Cool Whip. So these are the ingredients for our second layer. Now, give me just a minute here. All right, I had to get me a fork. Okay, so we want to put in 1 cup of powdered sugar. There we go, right there. And we want to mix this up together, our powdered sugar and our cream cheese. We need to get that mixed up before we add the Cool Whip. So let's get this stirred up here. And what we'll do is, when the crust is ready, we'll take that out of the refrigerator, and we're going to have to let that crust cool before we put this second layer on there, because if we put this second layer on there and the crust is still warm or it's still hot, then it's going to melt this second layer, and we don't want this second layer to melt. And I'm stirring this up with a fork so that it will break up the cream cheese, and I can get it stirred in to this powdered sugar. So I'm getting that stirred up. Now you can do this, you can mix this with, electric mixer if you want to, but I'm not going to pull my mixer out unless it's just necessary. So I can mix this up with a fork. So that's the simplest way to me. Okay, we've got that mixed up. Now we want to put our Cool Whip in, and this cream cheese still has some lumps in it, and I don't care that it has lumps in it, because I kind of like for my cream cheese to have some lumps in it when I'm mixing it into a recipe like this. So I don't try to get it smooth. I like it with the lumps in it. So that's just your preference, however you want that. Let's mix in our Cool Whip. All right, let's get this stirred up. Once we get this stirred up good, that will have our second layer together. And I'm just going to slide this into the refrigerator to keep it cool until I'm ready to use it in my recipe. almost got this mixed up good. Okay, there we go. This is our second layer right here. Okay, let me go slip this into the refrigerator. Now, we can start on our third layer. Let's turn around over this way. Let me rinse my hands off. Make sure you can see me and see what I'm doing. All right, now this third layer is going to have fresh strawberries in it. You know what? I might can bring them around here and show you what I'm doing. Let me bring these strawberries around to the counter here. All right. Okay, here's the fresh strawberries. Now, what the recipe calls for is 1 quart of fresh strawberries. Now, if you're not familiar with fresh strawberries and the containers they come in, you may be trying to figure out, okay, what is 1 quart? Okay, so here's the container that I got these in right here. This is the container. Now, there's a smaller container that is 1 pint of strawberries. 2 pints make 1 quart. So we've got, this is a 1 quart container. This doesn't actually say 1 quart on it anywhere, okay? But it does say right down here, it says 16 ounces, and then it's got in parentheses 1 pound. Okay, so 1 quart equals 16 ounces, and 16 ounces is 1 pound. So I'm just explaining that to you in case you are not familiar with buying fresh strawberries from the grocery store. Okay, now I have, what you need to do is you need to get your strawberries. You need to pick off the little green cap on it, the little green stem. You just pick that off. I've already taken these off, taken the cap off of it. There's your little stem still in there. So wash your strawberries, pat them dry, and then once you've got the stem off, you just take a knife. Let me turn around like this. Take a knife, stick it in there, and just cut around like this. And I cut that piece out just like that. See? Okay. And I saved 3 strawberries so you could see what I was doing. And then I'm just going, this is a big strawberry, so I'm just going to quarter it. I'm cutting not all the way through. See? I'll just quarter it. Okay. Let's come around here. I'm going to cut it up on this plate. Just kind of cut it in bite-sized pieces onto this plate. And this is going to be part of your third layer. Now I've got this little piece left here. I'm just going to cut it in half, lay it there. Okay, I've got 2 more strawberries. Let me cut the tops out of them. That's got a little bit of white right there that's not quite done. I'm going to cut that off. Now this is a smaller strawberry, so I'm not going to quarter it. I'm just going to cut it half and almost all the way through. And then I'll cut it into bite-sized pieces. There we go, we got that. Okay, here's the third one. We're just going to cut that core out of it. This is a smaller strawberry. I will just half it, cut it in half, and then cut it into bite-sized pieces. Okay, that's got our strawberries prepped. They're ready to go. So we'll just set them over here, and they'll be waiting on us to use. Okay, let me rinse my hands off, and we're going to go over to the stove. We've got to cook a strawberry glaze on the stove. So let me move us over to the stove where you can see what we're going to do over here. All right, there's my pot on the stove. Now, I already have in here, let me flip over my recipe and see, I already We've got our fresh strawberries. We've got them prepped. We've got 1 cup of sugar in here, in this container, in this boiler here. Now, we need to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. There's the cornstarch. Here's a measuring tablespoon. So I'm going to measure out 3 tablespoons, put it in there. 1. I'm making a mess with this. Okay, that's signaling 10 minutes. 2. That was my kitchen timer that just signaled 10 minutes. So we're going to have to check our crust. And almost got 3 here. I'm working on my 3rd tablespoon. Okay, there we go. 3 tablespoons. All right, of cornstarch in there. Now, let's pause a minute and let's check our crust. Okay, there's the oven. You get a couple of pot holders. Let's see what our crust is looking like. Okay. I'm just going to kind of feel of it. Okay. I'm feeling of it, and I can tell that the flour is not cooked in it, and it's not brown like I want it to be. So we're going to slide it in there. I will set my kitchen timer for 5 minutes now, and I'll check it in 5 minutes and see how it's doing. So let me check my kitchen timer. Let me set my kitchen timer. All right, the kitchen timer is set for 5 minutes. Now let's get back around here to our pot. The next thing that we need is 3 tablespoons of strawberry jello. Okay, here's the package, strawberry jello. Now I use the strawberry brand of jello. I know there's Royal and there's probably like Great Value and stuff like that. And I have tried some different brands before, but I prefer the Jello brand. So let's get 3 tablespoons. I've got my measuring spoon again here, my measuring tablespoon. 1, 2, 3. There's our 3 tablespoons of Jello. Now we want to kind of stir this up. Get all of this mixed together before we go to adding liquid to it, okay? So that hopefully it won't lump too terribly once we start adding liquid to it. Okay, I'm just stirring it, getting it well incorporated, trying to press out any lumps that I see as best I can. All right, now we've got 1 cup of water. Wait, hold it. We've got to have a dash of salt. Okay, so I've got my salt here, and I'm just putting just a few grains in my hand. If you can see that right there, just a few little grains of salt in my hand. I'm just going to brush that over into here, and you would be surprised how just a little bit of salt like that will make a difference in the flavor, but it really does. You think, well, that's just a few grains. That probably don't make no difference, but it really does. All right, so we've got that stirred in. Now we need 1 cup of water. Let me make sure that I've got everything here. Okay, we've got sugar, cornstarch, salt, strawberry jello, and we need 1 cup of water, and we need 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, so here's our 1 cup of water, and I'm going to pour this in just a little bit at a time. Instead of just pouring the whole cup in all at one time, I pour in just a little bit at a time and stir it, and that also will help with helping to keep down on lumps developing in this in this recipe. So just stir in a little bit at a time. And once you get all of the dry ingredients here stirred in, then you can go ahead and start adding the rest of your liquid. But that really helps on your ingredients not lumping. Okay, look at there. See, we've got it all stirred in. It's nice and smooth. So we can go ahead and just add the rest of the water. All right. Now, we need to add 3 tablespoons of Karo syrup. Okay. And this is another thing that I use the name brand on. I use the Karo brand. I have tried just the store brand or a different brand than Karo, and they do not, the ingredients are different, and it does not, you do not come out with the same consistency as using the Karo brand. So there are some things that I don't mind using store brand on or something like that, but then I have some things that I'm very particular about, that I will only use a certain brand. And you know, and one of those, well, one of the things that I'm really particular about is vanilla flavoring. I use only pure vanilla. I don't use the imitation vanilla. I'm straight pure vanilla. And I believe that makes a difference in the quality of your recipe. Okay, I scraped this out real good. I got all of that out of there. All right, our timer has gone off again. Let me rinse my hands off and we'll check that crust. Now, we should be getting close to this crust being done, because this will be 15 minutes that it's been cooking, and the recipe called to cook it for 20 minutes. So let's see what we've got going on now. Okay, it's starting to get a little brown on the edges, but it is still not ready. So we're going to cook it for 5 more minutes, and that will be the full 20 minutes, and we'll see how it looks. So let me set the kitchen timer for 5 more minutes. All right, let's get back around here to our pot. All right, we've got all of our ingredients in here. We want to turn this on. And we've still got this Karo and this water that we need to stir on up in here. Get it all stirred up real good. And what we've got to do is we've got to cook this until it thickens up. So that's going to take us a few minutes to let this cook and thicken up. And in the meantime, we've still got our crust. It's cooking as well. All right, we've got it stirred up good there. All right, our timer has gone off again. Let's check our crust. It's been cooking now for 20 minutes, and that's what the recipe said was 20 minutes. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I think I'm going to let this cook. Let me feel of it. I think I'm going to let this cook for maybe 1 or 2 minutes longer. I would like for the edges of it to be just a little more brown, so I'm sliding it in there. I'm going to put it on for 1 more minute. You just want to stir this occasionally while it's heating up. Scrape the sides. All right, we've cooked the crust for 1 more minute. Let's check it. Okay, I believe that's good. And we want to keep in mind now that it will continue to cook for just a little bit because this pan is hot. So even though I take it out of the oven, it's going to continue to cook for just a little bit. All right, so our crust is ready. We're going to let that be cooling. Let's look back here. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, we're going to have to let this cook some more. It's not thickening up yet. Okay, so here we go. Our glaze is ready. It don't really look all that thick to me, but I've cooked it and I've boiled it, and so that must be as thick as it's supposed to get. And we're going to let this cool down, and as it cools down, it will thicken up. So now we've got our crust cooling, and we've got our glaze cooling, and once all of that gets thoroughly cooled, then we're going to put this thing together. All right, here we go. We've got the crust cooled down and we've got the glaze cooled down. So we're going to put this dessert together. Here's our crust. The next thing we want to put on is our second layer. Right here, our cream cheese, Cool Whip, and powdered sugar. I'm going to put that on here and spread it out. All right, let's get this spread around. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. All righty. Try to get it all evenly spread out here. I just heard the whippoorwill start up out there. Every evening we have the whippoorwills, they start calling. Just heard it start up. And the lightning bugs ought to be out there flying around now. It's just getting dark. We call them lightning bugs. Some people call them fireflies. We call them lightning bugs. There goes the whippoorwill. I hear him again. I don't know if y'all can hear him or not. Maybe if I raise the window, y'all could hear it. Let me raise the window up, see if y'all can hear it. Can y'all hear it? All right, we've got our second layer on. Now, what we need to do is put on our fresh sliced strawberries. This is what needs to go on next. Just going to kind of spread them out. Yeah, that whippoorwill, he's going crazy tonight. know if he's trying to call up a girlfriend or what he's got going on. I saw a rabbit earlier in the yard. Just a little bit ago, eating some grass. He was watching me and I was watching him. He wouldn't let me get too close to him. The rabbits start coming out in spring, right before Easter. And when the kids were young and at home, we'd see a rabbit, and I'd say, well, look at there's Peter Cottontail. And he's hopping down the bunny trail, you know. Do y'all know that little song? All right, we near about got this put together. I just got all of my berries out. All right. There we go. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to pour the glaze over this. So here's our glaze. It has cooled down and it's thickened up some. See, there it is. Now, once we get this glaze poured on, we're going to slide this into the refrigerator and let this thoroughly chill, and that glaze will get even thicker once it thoroughly chills. So let's get this glaze kind of poured on here. Scrape this pot out, get all of this out. All right, let me just kind of spread it around here. Now, I'll let y'all take a look at it. Hold it up there where you can see it. Okay, here it is. And we're going to put this in the refrigerator. We're going to let it chill and let that glaze kind of set. Then it'll be ready to eat. So let's slide it into the fridge. Move some stuff around and make room for this. All right, there we go. We've got it in the fridge, and in a few hours I will pull it out and I'll show you the finished product. All right, our strawberry crunch has chilled. Here it is on the counter, and I'm going to cut a slice out of it. Let me hold it up here close though so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to cut a piece out of it. And we will try this out. See if I can lift it out of there with my little handy dandy spatula. Almost. All right, here we go. Okay. Let me get a spoon. Let's try a bite of this now. That is so good. That's really good. Now, I have another thought. This recipe doesn't call for whipped topping on the top of it, but I want to try that out. I want to see what that tastes like. So, I've got some Cool Whip here. Let's see if I can turn this. See, I've got some Cool Whip right here. Okay. So let me put a little bit of Cool Whip on this, and I want to taste it this way and see, does that make it better, or it doesn't really matter, or what? So let me taste it with a little Cool Whip on it. And I'll tell you the verdict. It's good this way too. So I guess it just, whatever your preference is. You can try it either way. It's good with or without. But anyway, that's our recipe for today. And I'm glad y'all just came right here in the kitchen with me and just visited a while. And so I'll let y'all go now. But I'll be back real soon with another fabulous recipe.